Hello everyone, my name's Laeticia Sevin and welcome to the International Opportunities Podcast. This series will give you an insight into our students' first-hand experiences abroad, whether that be a study exchange or work placement. From Fiji to Canada, our students have done amazing things abroad and we want to showcase that to all of you. If you're thinking about going abroad for your studies or for work, then this series will hopefully give you some inspiration, tips and advice. Today we have ex-student Tom Crisp in the studio. Hi Tom,
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
So, you came to Salford University and you left, what year was it?
So I left last year, 1 year ago now, so 2023 in the summer, I graduated.
Brilliant. Do you want to tell us about the course that you did here?
Yeah, so I did TV and radio. That was mainly held in the Media City campus. And then it got to a point where during it, I wanted something new and I wanted a new challenge. So I actually decided to take the international team's opportunity up that I saw during the welcome week and sort of inquire more, ask more details, things like that. And it kind of snowballed into like this thing where I was like, oh, this might be fun to I might actually do this, you know. And then the next thing you know, an application was in. I was attending these sort of meetings just a few weeks before I left. And then I was on the plane and I was going.
Do you want to tell us where you went?
So I went to Humber College in Toronto, Canada. And there I studied what would be the film production course here, but over there. So even though I was doing a more TV focused course here, the sort of the skills that you learn, you don't have to do something exactly the same. As long as you think that you would build upon the skills that you need in whatever course you want. So in my case, it was things like camera skills, camera and lighting, it was production management. It was those sort of skills that you can learn, whether that's film production, TV production, and you can take them across industries. And I've used quite a lot of the skills that I learned then in the industry and the job that I'm working at now. So
brilliant. So they mapped over your modules to different modules that kind of fit your expertise.
Absolutely. So the Humber College over there and then Salford here worked together with me, and everyone kind of chimed in their little bit of input to then figure out what would be best. So the initial conversation was about what I was looking for, what I wanted to do career-wise, what I did back here in Salford. And then they sort of, Humber College over there, then sort of talked about what their options are, what they do, and their specialities. And then I worked with some of the course leaders for TV and radio to then figure out what would be a good option and not. And then those sort of things were put into place in sort of preferential order on what would be best. And then I did actually get my sort of top preferences. So I do feel like when I was on the courses themselves, I was like, these are actually good skills, because not only am I learning something now, but I know that this is going to reflect them when I'm back in the UK, when I'm back into third and final year at Salford, but also when I'm back in the industry as well.
Brill. And when did you go and how long for?
So I left in January 22, and then I was there for about sort of 5 months. And that led me then to the summer. So it was one semester that I went for here. There was conversation about going possibly for a year, whether that's taking a year over there or taking a sandwich year. But I felt like the time, I've always known that the UK would be my home, and I would travel and I would go everywhere and I would explore the world, but I always knew that I would come back here. So I just felt like kind of for the first time that I had left the UK for, more than a few weeks, I think that the kind of a 1 semester period would have been best. And it was ideal, because by the end of it, I was starting to feel a bit homesick. Yeah. I was starting to sort of want to come back and have my sort of home securities more. I really enjoyed the time there, but I feel like for me, especially, that 1 semester was perfect.
Have you lived abroad before?
No, never. So I've only ever been on holiday. I think the longest holiday I've ever taken is 2 weeks.
Wow.
So that's the longest time that I'd been outside of the UK for. I've done obviously things in the UK that have required us to go away for a few weeks at a time. I've worked in productions in Scotland for sort of 4, 5, 6 weeks. So I've worked away from home, but not for that long. So it was scary when I was leaving. But for me, I don't think it hit until my sort of boots were on the ground in Canada.
Yeah.
Everything before then never felt real, but I was still doing it at the time. As I say, I reached out to the international team during Welcome Week after receiving sort of information about them. I started inquiring about what the options were. I was looking at America, I was looking at Canada. I even looked at Australia, but when I went, COVID was still a thing. So Australia was sort of closed down for any students. So it turned from putting an inquiry in to then having a conversation and then exploring options for like courses and preferences and things like that to then putting a deposit down for accommodation, and then things really started to pick up. And you know, things were being signed and flights were being booked, and the next thing I know, I was sat on an 8-hour flight to Toronto.
It's so surreal though, isn't it? You don't realise you're actually going until, like you say, your boots are on the ground.
Absolutely. And I was stood there outside the terminal, and I was ordering an Uber, and I think the first time it really hit was when the total came up in Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how much this is. Is this worth a sandwich? Is this worth like a house? Like how much? I didn't know the equivalent.
They're converting every 2 minutes on Google.
Yeah. So I think that probably is what I did was I thought about, right, sort of it's £3 for a Tesco meal deal. What does this convert to? This is 2 Tesco meal deals. That's not actually that bad, actually. Yeah. So, yeah, let's get it.
Logic. Love it.
Absolutely.
Now, did you have any skills that you were looking to develop or gain in Canada?
So, when I originally joined Salford Uni, I joined on a course that I didn't like. So, I joined in 2019. I did a year of a course that I didn't enjoy. So, I transferred. And I started a new course in 2020. COVID was a thing. And when I started both the original course in 19 and then the new one, TV and radio, in 2020, I was sort of the shyest kid in the room. I didn't have any sort of confidence skills. I didn't like to speak. When I joined TV and radio, as I said, COVID was still a thing. So we had Zoom meetings and Zoom recordings. And it was especially then that when, say, somebody asked a question, I would hear if they then asked me for an answer, even over Zoom, where it just required you to unmute your mic. And that was it. I hated it. I hated everything about it. And I just wanted to sort of blend in. Then over the sort of the next few months, I did pick up some confidence, and I started meeting new people, and I started developing those sort of social skills that you do learn in sort of teenage years, but you don't really get to develop until you are sort of thrown in at the deep end, when you might be sort of living by yourself for the first time at uni, and you've got to do these things by yourself without sort of being forced into a situation. And what I mean by that is, when you're at school, when you're at sixth form or college, you're forced into those classrooms with those people, and you make friends with them because everyone's in the same boat. And uni is quite similar to that, in that everyone on your course, nobody knows each other. Everyone's in the same boat, but it's a bit more intimidating because it's uni and you're by yourself. Yeah. So I knew that I wanted to develop those social skills, and I think Canada just sort of picked them up and absolutely ran with them. Yeah. Like, I went from 0 to 100 in milliseconds, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity as well, because I think when people ask what was the biggest thing you learned from Canada, it wasn't any sort of, production management skills, it wasn't any camera skills, it was social skills and confidence. And I think I picked up so much confidence in Canada because of the situations that I was thrown into and the situations that I threw myself into. As I said, the next thing I knew, I was on an 8-hour flight to Toronto. I didn't know what I was really doing. I was just like, yeah, this will be fun. Yeah, this will be fun. This will be exciting. Why not? What have I got to lose? If I don't like it, I'll get on the next flight back,
I feel like those interpersonal skills, though, that you're talking about are very transferable, especially within the TV industry. So as much as you didn't get the full TV production side of it, like you didn't learn all of that there, those personal skills are really what matters in this industry as well.
Absolutely. When it comes to sort of interviews and situations that I'm put into now, I'm so grateful for that opportunity that allowed me to develop these sort of communication skills, how to speak properly and how to sort of make up conversation even. So if you're sat in a room and everyone else is quite shy, you can be the one who's got the confidence about them, and you can be the one who stands out a bit as the person who engages in conversations. And it's even when you're sort of trying to make small talk, you're in an interview and you might be waiting on somebody else coming in the room, and it might feel a bit awkward. If you've got those social skills about you and you've got that confidence, make some small talk. You have these things in the back of your mind that you can bring up and things that you can comment on. It'll make everyone else feel at ease, and it'll make both you and the people interviewing you walk out of that thinking they're really good.
Exactly.
I like them a lot.
Definitely. And what were your expectations before going to Canada, and how did the actual experience compare?
I think, honestly, I didn't have that many expectations because I threw myself in at the deep end and I didn't have that much time to think about it. I think the time frame between sort of putting down my preference on courses and being on the flight was about sort of 90 days, if that. So it was quite a quick turnaround. And I didn't think about it too much. And I think partly that's because I didn't want to worry about it. Before I went to Canada, I was still quite anxious. And I didn't want that to affect anything. I didn't want anything to make me doubt going to Canada, because I knew that I did want to go. And I love traveling, and I love meeting new people, and I love experiencing new sort of cultures and new places and things like that. So I just thought of those opportunities, and I thought how fun it would be to meet not only a new set of people and be in a new place, but also it's a different culture completely. It's you're meeting sort of people from North America, and the whole way of life there is sort of different in their sort of way of doing things is different how we do it, and it's learning those differences. So when I went, I didn't have that many expectations because I was excited to learn the new things and what I would do there. And then coming back, I could then reflect on everything that I had learned and everything that I thought that I might learn, and I thought I might do this and that and the other, and then it was so much more than that. I met so many more people. I had so much more in common that I thought I would have. I gained so much confidence. I built upon so many skills, both sort of professional and personal skills. And the opportunities that I had and the places that I traveled to and the people that I met, I'd never expected any of that. And I was absolutely amazed when I'm even thinking about it now.
Because Toronto is it's one of the most diverse cities that you can go to in the world as well. So especially with you being on an exchange program, I'm guessing you were introduced to all the other exchange students once you got there.
Absolutely. I think the people who were on my course were they had lived there all their lives. It's the same as us here. And if you visit your hometown, you're like, this is same old, nothing's changed. So to people on my course, it was same old. But to the other exchange students who I then met, and we all met in the common room because Humber introduced us all together, it put us all in the same WhatsApp group, and we arranged to meet in common rooms. It's similar to when you're starting uni. Nobody knew anybody. Everyone was thrown in at the deep end. If anything, it was a bit weirder because we were in a different country. We were halfway across the planet. So it was crazy that we were there. And I think we were all had this a bit of a rush about it, and it was new and it was exciting, and we all threw ourselves in at the deep end. And it was meeting those different people who I'm still friends with today. I still now know people, from France, Spain, the Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, Scotland even. Quite a lot of people on my course actually, or on the exchange, were from Scotland, which was a bit weird because I was like, you're kind of just down the road, but we're now both on the other side of the world, not really knowing what we're doing, but we're here. But we had that thing in common, both sort of being from the UK, but also being in a place that was new and that we didn't know. And we had this opportunity given to us that we could explore, and we could try these new dishes, we could visit this new place, we could look at this new artwork, we could go to these different bars and clubs and listen to this new kind of music and the new way of dance, all these brand new things that, you know, if you go into Manchester city centre, you might think, yeah, that's standard, that's typical British behaviour. None of that's over there. It's all brand new.
Exactly.
And it's sort of like being in a new world, but also, you know, you've got your home comforts. You know, everyone's speaking the same language. You're not that different. You know, we're all human. We've all got similar interests. It's just a different way of doing things, and it's new. I think that's the main thing, is that everything that we experienced was new, and it was exciting. And we just wanted to keep going, keep visiting all these places and experiencing all these different things.
What was your favourite memory from the trip?
I got the opportunity on their spring break, which is the equivalent of sort of an Easter break here. So we had a few weeks off, and I knew that in that time I wanted to travel more sort of wider, because I could take weekends away. I went to Ottawa, I went to Montreal just for the weekend while the course was on. But I knew that while I had a prolonged period of time off, I wanted to travel and to properly visit new places. And I had in mind doing a bit of an American trip. So originally, what I thought I wanted to do was just visit a few sort of states nearby that like bordered Canada and the state of Ontario. But what ended up happening was I took a flight from Toronto to Miami, spent a few days in Miami, flew up to Washington, spent 2 days in Washington, D.C., saw all the sights.
Wow.
Then flew up to New York, spent 6 days in New York, flew to Boston to spend a few days, and finally back to Toronto on the morning that the course returned. So I took a 6 a.m. flight, was back in Toronto for about 7 a.m., took an Uber back to Lakeshore campus at Humber, and I was in class for 9 a.m.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done. Oh, I bet you were tired, but...
I was absolutely shattered, but the things that I saw, the places that I visited, it was absolutely insane. I've always dreamt of going to, you know, DC, to Miami, to New York.
What was your favourite out of all of them?
I've got to say New York.
Was it?
New York's just one of those places where you see it all the time. You see it on YouTube, Instagram, on the news.
I feel
you see
like
it
I've
on...
been there just from the picture.
Honestly, it gets posted so much. But of all the places, I've always thought, yeah, one day I'll do that, one day. And then to, again, be walking on the beaches of Miami and walking through Times Square in New York, it was so surreal. And I was like, this is actually insane that I'm here and I'm experiencing this. And I think that was the best memory, because it was so many new things at the same time.
Yeah.
I was not overwhelmed. There was a lot going on, and it was an absolutely amazing time. And I don't think I would have went there without the skills that I had already learnt to that point. So that was only about 2 months into being on my exchange in Canada. And the skills that I had learnt in those first few weeks were absolutely insane, because it built my confidence so much. It built my social skills, and it built upon all these different things that I never knew I would sort of get out of. I always thought I would be that shy kid. I always thought I would be a bit quiet, and I never knew I would be this person who's confident enough to travel halfway across the world. But also then all these trips to America, I was solo on all of them.
Were you?
I never went with anybody.
What, you did the whole of the spring break trips?
The whole of it by myself.
That's impressive.
Quite a few of the other exchange students had a similar thing in mind, in that they wanted to go on other trips. So a few of them paired up and went to northern Canada, to the coast. Some of them went to Ottawa and Montreal. Some of them went all the way to the other side, to British Columbia and Vancouver, and had a few days there. But I thought, I know what I want to do, and I want to experience these new places, and I just booked them. And
I love that.
The thing that because don't get us wrong, I wasn't sure. I was nervous, and I was a bit anxious about it, because it was something so big that I was doing. But I always then put it down to one thing. I always said, if this happens, then I'll do it. And that's kind of the same thing that I do now, in that if there's anything big, I always say, okay, if this happens, I'll do it. And the thing that I did when I went to America was, I obviously had to apply for a visa, an ESTA. And I said, if this gets approved, I'll book it. And on the website, it says it can take up to 72 hours to approve. So I thought, right, I'll put the visa application in. I'll have a think about it. I'll explore options, and I'll make sure these flights and these hotels are actually what I want to do. About 25 minutes later, the approval email came through, and I thought, I said if this comes through, then I'll book it. Yay. So I booked it there and then, and I'd done it, and it was wild to think what you'd just done. But the memories I've now got, photos, the memories that I can think about and remember, the music that I heard out there that I Shazammed, that are now on my Spotify playlist, and every time they come up when I'm on shuffle, I get these flashbacks and I get these memories of, being in Lower Manhattan, being on the Miami beaches, being in sort of by the Washington Monument and things like that. These songs would play and they bring back all these memories.
Nostalgic.
Absolutely. And I think if I were to give any sort of advice to anybody going, I would say do that. Make those memories. Capture the memories as well, but not necessarily, don't have your phone out all the time because you want to take in the things, but, take pictures and videos if you want. Listen to music. Take in the sights and the sounds and what you're experiencing. Because then when that song then gets played again, if you're walking through Arndale in town or if you're walking through Trafford Centre and you hear that song in the distance, you get all these flashbacks and you get all these memories. And then you think about sort of, how lucky you are really to have these opportunities and to be presented with all these sort of things that you can take up. All you have to do is say yes to them. That is all you have to do. And that's something that I always advise to people coming to uni and who are scared in their first year and I don't know how to make friends and I don't know how to do this and that. Say yes to everything, because if you don't like it, well then you've learnt what you do and don't like then.
Exactly.
But if you do like it, there you go, you've made memories, you've made friends, you've took on these opportunities. So say yes to everything. Say yes to all these.
A bit like Jim Carrey in the film,
Absolutely. Say yes to these clubs, to these sort of like events that are happening. If your friends or if your flatmates say, do you want to do this, do you want to do that? Yeah, why not?
Exactly, because you will regret those one days where you're feeling a bit anxious or you're a bit hesitant to go somewhere and you don't go. You will have FOMO.
Yeah,
you will
absolutely.
regret that.
It's the number one thing in uni is you say no to something, you go on your Instagram, your Snapchat, your Facebook, you see all these other people who did go, having fun, partying, going out on a night, going to these different fancy restaurants or going to this event or something like that, and you think, oh, wow, I should have just said yes.
Do you feel like when you got back from the trip, you were more likely to say yes to plans at uni?
Absolutely.
Did you feel
100%.
like you made more friends when you got back as well?
Yeah, 100%. Because, as I say, I was this nervous, shy kid before, and I wouldn't approach anybody, and I wouldn't speak to people. I wouldn't be the one to initiate things. Now, I'm speaking to people all the time, at work. I meet countless people at work, hundreds in a week of new contributors coming onto programs, new visitors, guests, top execs, and, other people who are, just wanting a little bit of a tour or something like that. I'm the one to approach them and welcome them at first and make that conversation and make them at ease. And I think that skill that I learned is not only benefits me personally in making friends and taking up new opportunities and things like that, but professionally it's excelled me so much beyond any sort of learning that I could do in a classroom or at college or at school. You can never learn any of that.
No.
It's only by throwing yourself in the deep end that you can really start to appreciate these opportunities and build upon your confidence and your skills and your social mobility.
I'm going to ask you a bit more about that afterwards, what you're doing now, but can you tell us just a little bit about the structure of the course in Canada and how to differentiate from your course in Salford? Yeah,
so it had similar sort of things about it. So a lot of it was hands-on. It was practical. They wanted you to get stuck in and get involved and really build upon those skills, because people can only tell you things so much before you actually have to do it. And I think over there, when I went, as I said, COVID was still a thing. Canada was under a bit more stricter rules than the UK was at the time. So things weren't the same. So while teaching returned to in-person at Salford, at Humber was still split, half in-person, half virtual.
Right.
So it was a bit of a weird sort of deja vu moment there, but they really did try and sort of get you in as much as possible. And even if that meant, wearing masks, wearing face shields, things like that, they were like, we would rather do that and give you the hands-on experience than show you something via a webcam and you're just sat in a room. So yeah, they definitely put the effort in to try and make the most of the opportunity for you. But obviously things are different now. And I think if I were to go now, or if anybody else was to go, not even to Canada, but to anywhere else that is offered, things would be, back to normal. Things will be hands-on experience. And I think a lot of these places do appreciate that you are there for a few months, you're not there for long. You want to make the most of your opportunity, both learning-wise, but also as an experience. So they will put things on for you. Not only will they accommodate you in the classroom and on your course, but they will put on events. They will sort of, again, throw you in at the deep end. Yeah. They will put you in these situations where you need to speak to new people, where you need to meet and mingle with these new people. And it really does help. It helps enormously because I think everyone is in the same boat. It's just about making that first move. Yeah. And things will snowball from there.
Definitely. And were a lot of your professors working professionals?
Yeah, so a lot of them, similar to Salford, were either ex-industry or still within the industry. So I remember the professor who was teaching me the sort of hands-on camera skills, he was, teaching on the morning and then going to film shoots on the evenings. And he was bringing his own kit in that he had built up over time and showing us, this is literally what I'm taking to a film shoot tonight. This is what this does, and this is how I use this. So cool. It's not only those professional skills on how to use the cameras and the kits and things like that, but it's his experience. And he's like, this is how it works in the industry. Yeah. I'm not teaching you from a textbook. I'm teaching you from what I'd done last night and what I'm going to do tonight. And this is the terminology that people use. This is the kit that they use. If I were to give you, what are the first 5 things you should be looking to invest in, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it was that sort of knowledge that they had, but also industry experience that they had, and they were just passing it down to you, and you could trust them in what they were saying because, as I said, they were finishing their shift at Humber College and starting their shift on a film set on the evening. Exactly. And even for the people who were ex-industry, it's not like they stopped learning 10 years ago when they left. They still got the friends who are still within the industry. They still keep up to speed with the developments, with the changes, what's going on, what are the trends, what are not the trends, what are things to do, and what are things to invest in and things like that. So even when it comes to that, it's the knowledge that they have, and it's very similar to Salford, is industry level and it's industry standard, and you leave there and could walk straight into a job and they're using that same terminology, and it allows you to understand what they're seeing and what they're doing.
Exactly, because I did a similar course to you, but I felt the same, that they really prepared you for a professional set. This is how it's going to work. If you're not interested, you can get out of the room. They are very professional and they're really on it with the
100%. Honestly, I think everyone knows why they want to be there, and everyone has a purpose, and everyone's got a dream and a career and a goal.
Exactly.
And everyone knows what they want to achieve, and I think everybody, both at Salford, at Humber, and globally, anywhere that you go, people like to see other people be happy and achieve their goals and achieve their dreams, and would do anything to support you. And it's the same in industry at the minute. If you engage with people in the industry and you ask for advice, ask for help, ask for contacts, ask for advice or whatever you need, they will be more than happy to give it to you and provide you with the help and support that you might need. And it's the same at Humber, at Salford, and anywhere. People want to see people succeed, and people will do anything to help you.
Definitely. So what were some of the challenges that you faced during your time abroad, and how did you overcome them?
I think when I went, I've spoke about how COVID was still a thing, and you do experience these things even right now when COVID might not be in the frame at the minute. You do experience these setbacks, and you might go somewhere with a level of expectation, and it might not be what you wanted. It might not be what you thought it would, or some things might be different. You could look at pictures of your accommodation and think it's the absolute dream. Turn up and you're in 4 concrete walls, and it's not really the most appetizing. But the thing that I learned was to make the most of any situation, good or bad. You're in that situation, you might as well make the most of it and enjoy it as much as you can, because it's a lot easier to sit there and dwell on things and think about how things could have been and things like that. But where does that leave you? It leaves you worse off. It leaves you a bit more depressed. It could leave you a bit more anxious. It could make you more homesick. It could leave you feeling many ways other than what you want, and that's to be excited and happy and looking forward to these new opportunities. So as I said, I think it fits in quite well today even. And you should absolutely make the most of any opportunity, whether that is going to a social, whether that's joining a new society, whether that's going abroad and visiting these new countries and cultures and experiencing all these things. Is you should absolutely do it and say yes to everything. But even if you do face setbacks, make the most of it. Yeah. Because there are opportunities to be made everywhere. And you'll leave it, if you make the most of it, you'll leave it thinking how much you've learnt and what you might do next time, or even you'll leave it having learnt so much more, and you'll have built those skills on how to overcome things, how to overcome setbacks in life, and what the next steps are, and really sort of have a level sort of mind at it. And take that step back that you need. People might have experienced it on, GCSE results, A-level results, even university results, and on their modules, they might not have gotten what they wanted. It's a lot easier to dwell and sit and think, oh, well, I give up now. Yeah. It's a lot more harder to make the most of the opportunity. It's so much more worth it, and you get so much more from it if you do take that step back and think, right, what are my options? What can I do? Let's make the most of it.
When you had a bad day there, what was your coping strategy?
I think I took a lot of these memories that I had made. So I took photographs, I took these little sentimental things, I couldn't have taken too many because, I was limited by the case size and the weight limit. So I would take everything but the kitchen sink if I could, but I couldn't. So it was these little things that did remind us of, both things at home, pictures of friends and family, but also where I'm at and what I've learned and where I've come from as well. As I say, I was this shy kid who was scared to join uni. I will openly admit now that when I first started at uni, it was 3 times daily I would be on the phone to my mum, my dad, saying that I wanted to come home, saying that I didn't like it, I didn't want to be here, this is scary, I'm struggling to make friends, I'm struggling to do this, that and the other. But I stuck at it. And so I knew that when I went to Canada, I would have those moments. And that was something that that was one of the only things that I could guarantee to myself, was that I would have moments of feeling homesick. Yeah. But having these sort of sentimental things, having these calls with family back home, even things like sending them messages on WhatsApp and pictures of where I've been and what I've seen that day, and then hearing them come back with, look how far you've come from those first days of uni, and look where you're at now, you're halfway across the world. You were scared of going, 2 hours down the road to university. You're now on an 8-hour flight on the other side of the world, and you're making the most of the opportunity. And hearing that back really give us some of the confidence that I think I needed at the time to think, actually, look what I'm doing, look where I'm at. I've done this by myself. I've signed up for this opportunity. I've got on the flight. I've travelled. I've packed. I've organised. And I'm meeting all these people and experience this new culture by myself. Yeah. And that was one of the things that gave me so much confidence.
And do you think that you would be in the job that you're in today if you hadn't have done this exchange trip?
Absolutely not. I think not only in my industry that I work, which is broadcast television, but in any industry, people like the people with confidence, you know? People like the ones who can make small talk, who can make these conversations, who can, you know, keep energy high, you know, whether that's in an office environment, whether that's on stage, whether that's in a studio. People like these high energy people, because if you come in all tired and somebody's there with high energy and, you know, wants to get you a bit amped up a bit for the production, for the work day, it does boost your mood.
Yeah.
Because if you went into an office and everybody was, you know, sat there not wanting to be there, tired, drinking coffee, you would start to sort of fit in a bit to that, and that's not what you want. So I think the experience that I got in the things that I learnt from Canada, as I said, things like your confidence, your social skills, they all massively play not only to the job that I've got now, but to my entire life. Everything that I do, you know, whether that is speaking with family, speaking with friends, speaking with colleagues, these social skills that I've got and the new people that I meet, I'm constantly building on them every single day. And I don't think that would have started if I didn't go to Canada. I think if I didn't go there, I would have still been that shy kid at the back of the room who wanted to keep himself to himself and, you know, would have preferred to text over call and things like that. But since then, I think the skills that I've learned and things like that, I am the one to initiate things. I am the one to make that conversation, to just call, to just do things, because what have you got to lose?
Yeah.
You've got absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain.
So can you tell us a bit about what you're doing now as your professional career and what you've done since finishing uni?
Yeah, so when I sort of got back from Canada, I had a few months over summer where I started to then get those first jobs in the industry. And I think for anybody who is on both TV and radio as a course, but anybody in a creative industry knows how hard it is currently to get that job, because it is a case of more who you know and not what you know. So it's building those contacts and it's trying to get your name out there. And those first few credits are the most difficult because you don't have those contacts. You don't have that experience yet. So over those first few months where I had time off and after I had just built upon those skills, I was starting to get my foot in the door with different productions. And as I say, they went everywhere from Coventry to Scotland, Manchester, back home. They went everywhere, and I travelled with them while I could take up that opportunity and while I had that time away from university. And then I did focus then on third year, but then it started to sort of meeting those people and making those contacts and snowballed, and people started reaching out. I started getting emails, phone calls, text messages asking if I was free here and there, and I would take up these sort of daily jobs and these short contracts. And then a few weeks before I finished university, I started with Morning Live, and that was again a snowball situation where they asked me in to cover one day, and it was just a case of, look, I emailed the right person at the right time when they had a thing on, when they needed that extra person. So I made the most of that opportunity, again, based on skills that I had learned in Canada, those personal and professional skills, but also the skills that I had then learned on other productions. I then had been in a few interviews. I knew roughly how they went. I knew what to say. And that job then snowballed. They kept asking me back and back and back, which then led to now I'm still there a year and a half later, and I'm developing constantly by progressing on both Morning Live but also other productions as well. So I'm working across the BBC at the minute on anything from sports to events to factual entertainment to documentaries, everything that you can think of. I'm working in it. I'm even working in sort of Blue Peter on children's, which has been an absolute dream and I'm so excited for. But it is making these contacts, and it's meeting these people in situations that you might never expect, and having those things that you've learnt at the back of your mind, knowing how to make small talk, knowing how to make that conversation, knowing what to say and how to say it. I think has helped me so much, even to this day and well into the future. It will help me so much.
It's so inspirational to hear you just go abroad, come back with all these amazing skills, and then you've just snowballed your way to the top. Like, you are doing absolutely amazing, and it's incredible what an international opportunity can give somebody as well.
100%. I think people really need to recognize, what people are saying. They're not bluffing it. They're not trying to exaggerate it. When somebody says this experience can literally change your life, it absolutely does. It's changed my life so much more for the better. University as a whole was an incredible opportunity for me, and people say it all the time. Again, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I don't need the degree that I've got to work in the job that I've got, but it was those opportunities that presented over the 3 years of being at uni, not only for international opportunities, but being thrown in at the deep end for events, for accommodation and where you live and what you do and who you meet. All of those opportunities really build upon your confidence because it's something new. You're moving away from home. You're throwing yourself in at the deep end. You're saying yes to all these opportunities and you're learning things rapidly. But the one thing that really, really excelled that and took off was going abroad and taking up this international opportunity. And I'm just so glad that I picked up that leaflet at that time and actually sent that email and inquired about it.
It's just making that first move and just forcing yourself to do it, really, isn't it?
100%.
What advice would you give to students that are considering a study exchange?
Say yes. Absolutely.
Love
just
it.
say yes. Why not? What have you got to lose? We're talking about a Humber College in Toronto. It's not the only one. Salford constantly makes new contacts and brings these new opportunities to students all the time. You can travel anywhere from sort of Australia to the Middle East to America to Europe, anywhere you want. It's not only on creative courses, you could be doing nursing, midwifery, anything like that. There's opportunities for you to go abroad to experience these new opportunities and to bring back so much to the UK, both personally and professionally.
Because you were asked back as a student ambassador, weren't you, when you returned from Canada?
Absolutely. And the thing that I say all the time when I was in third year, I was student ambassador for the International Opportunities team, but I was also doing open days both at Media City, at Peel, and I was representing TV and radio as a course, the university as a whole, and international opportunities. And people would ask me all the time, they'll go, what would you advise? I'm thinking about applying, what do you think? What would you advise? I would say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely say yes. And I know I keep going on about it, but it's honestly true. And if you say yes to everything, you will very quickly discover if you do or don't like it.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. If you don't like the course you're on, if you don't like the modules you've picked, if you don't like the event you've attended or the society that you've joined or the flat that you're in or the people that you're with, you don't have to continue.
No.
Change it.
Exactly.
Change it for what you want and what you want to do. Find what you want to do, who you want to hang out with, what events you want to attend, and go for it. But if you do like it, you've either learned something new or you've discovered something that you absolutely love and you can take forward, whether that is something on your course, whether that's something between your friends, whether that's an event. The places that I discovered in Manchester when I was out on sort of events and socials with societies and friends that I would never have known about, whether it's restaurants, bars, clubs, fun activities to go to, places that you can visit, anything like that, I learned and got to experience so much. And that was just in Manchester. Never mind on all the opportunities that took you outside of Manchester or abroad.
Now, whilst you were on your trip, how did you plan your finances, and do you have any advice for students on what to do?
I think one of the tips that I've personally not heard myself is work out the currency, work out the conversion, because when I was in Canada, it was 55 cents to the pound. So while you're looking at something going, that's $10, that might be quite expensive, it works out to be about £5.50. And as soon as you start clicking with things like that, you go, that's not actually bad. You know, I can afford that because, you know, certain countries, things might appear cheaper, things might appear more expensive, and it's working out what the conversion rate is and what the equivalent is, either in product back in the UK or in cost back in the UK. And as soon as you get your head around that, it makes budgeting so much more easier. Then there's different opportunities that you can get from the UK government, from the university, from student finance, and you've just got to take in all these different sources of income and what is available to you on your personal situation and go from that. You know, it's the same as working out what is your budget for university.
Yeah.
You've got to sit down, you've got to work out all these different sources and work out what your expenses are and come up with a plan.
Now, finally, is there anything else that you want to add, anything else that you want to share about your experience as a whole?
I think it's the same with everything. It's the same with every new opportunity, and it's the same with joining university. It's the same with moving away. It's the same with, you know, starting a new job. It's something new. You are going to be anxious. You are going to be a bit homesick. You are going to experience things that you may or may not have expected. It's normal. It's natural. You're absolutely fine. Make the most of the opportunity while you're there, because before you know it, you'll be back in Salford on the course with people asking, how was it? What did you do? What did you get up to? And if you've not made the most of the opportunity while you're there, if you haven't visited the certain places that you wanted to go or that people always talk about, when you come back, you will have such FOMO and such regret. These things don't come around often. So if you're presented with any opportunity in life, take it, whether that is a new job, a new place to visit, a new opportunity to go out on socials, to meet new people, to go abroad, to even go on holiday for a few weeks. Say yes to it, because what have you got to lose?
That's brilliant advice. Oh, thank you so much. It's been so lovely speaking to you.
Thanks so much. It's been fun.
If you listeners want to find out more about study exchanges or work placements, then please visit the Student Hub International Opportunities page. There you can find out about our drop-in sessions, application processes and partnerships. I'll see you in next week's episode, where we'll be hearing from more of our amazing students about their overseas placements. Please like, share and subscribe to this podcast so you can hear more, and we can spread the word about our international opportunities. We'll see you next time.